Good day, viewers. Welcome to 284 Media. I am your host, Kamal Haynes, and today we will be bringing you another special featured interview. We are here at the Green VI Eco Park here at Paraquita Bay, and we have in store to speak to Mrs. Sarah Penny, Deputy Director, as well as some other members of her team. Well, we will be taking a look back at 2023, as well as some of the plans of Green VI for 2024. We get to all those details right after a quick commercial break.
Orange alert! Orange alert!
Fire is spreading across the BVI. The fastest, most reliable, and affordable fiber internet service is here for you. Look out for fire in these new locations: Slaney, Duff Bottom, Manual Reef, Seacows Bay, Albion, Hannah's, Palestina, Pleasant Valley, and Havers. Fiber is in your area. Call 444-4444 or visit a CCT store to find out more and bring it home. More locations coming soon.
He hit me. Will CG cover this?
Don't worry. Remember when I was in that competitive arm wrestling circuit? Three-time champion, baby! I did feel bad crushing all those arms and dreams. So I took them all out for ice cream. And then we got crushed. Anyway, CG handled my claims fast.
That explains the arm.
The best cover for the best value. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Welcome back, viewers. As promised, we have the lovely Mrs. Sarah Penny of Green VI, the Deputy Director of Green VI. And as the customary, we try to have a conversation with Green VI on an annual basis to get some information regarding the plans for 2024, the New Year plans, as well as what would have transpired the previous year, which would have been, in this particular case, 2023. Welcome to our platform again, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, as always. Your team is wonderful, and we really appreciate just the support that it means that you do want to keep the public updated on where the work is at.
Okay, well, thank you for those kind remarks. Yeah. So Green VI, we see 2024 would have started this year. I want to just get the ball going. We've seen the BVI Smart Schools initiatives being, we did a few stories on that particular initiative. We would have seen the Rise and Bid program, some millions of dollars being pumped into BVI Smart Schools through in partnership with Green VI as well. I want you to speak on, the role Green VI would have had and some of the plans in store that you will contribute as part of this initiative towards schools in the territory.
Okay. Yeah, we're really, really proud. The Smart Schools Project, which is what we refer to it as, which is funded by Res and Bid funding, was really developed and created by the partners. So Department of Disaster Management, Green VI, the Red Cross, HLSCC, and the Ministry of Education. And what the goal with that is to create the resilience that our communities need by creating resilience in our schools. So, the way our country is set up and our culture is, our, especially public schools, are all in our villages. And so the vision is that if we can have safe and smart schools, which means not only are they resilient to disasters, but really resilient to climate crisis and its impacts, by having full food gardens, by having rainwater harvesting, by being able to protect themselves from mosquito breeding, full recycling systems within the schools. That's bins, both inside the classrooms and on the perimeter of the campus, so that families can bring their recyclables there. Drinking water systems, so that we can erase this dependence on single plastic bottled water that has become polemic in our country, and it's really tragic. Sorry, you're always going to find the deputy director belaboring that point, because it's so critical that we stop this dependence on plastic bottled water. I think that the Smart Schools space has this beautiful component because it's an investment not only in the children, but in the teachers. For example, BVI Red Cross providing first aid training for all the teachers, so you end up with a staff that feels invested in. Because so often that gets lost, right? We spend a lot of time investing in the children, and what we need to do is bring everybody along together. I would give a shout out to, for example, our team was meeting with the PTA at Ivan Dawson yesterday to find out from even parents, what are they passionate to see, be developed and sustained within their school and their village. So Smart Schools is exciting. It's also challenging, to say the least. It requires a lot of grant management, fiscal management, resin bid grants. Anyone that's worked with them will tell you how intense the procurement and reporting requirements are.
Because I'm sure you have to account for every dollar spent.
Beyond that, I mean, it's aligned in many ways with what the government of the Virgin Islands is going through with the updated procurement, policy that came into effect year before last, right, for the territory. But it's challenging. It makes the work go a bit slower than we might like it to go. But it also means this project itself brings a lot of even private sector in. So I would give a shout out to Mendez Construction right now, who's they bid on the request for quotes for building pergolas or shade spaces within all the food gardens throughout the schools. So they're in the process of getting those built. You have VI Plastics as a business who is producing polywood, which we'll see later, that goes into the gardens for the tool cupboards and the raised garden beds, the pergolas for shade. And then you have businesses like Alpha Energy, who's done energy audits at the schools to check on ways that there can be cost savings from lower energy consumption, maybe appliances being considered, or even just improvements in the electrical systems at a school. But I mean, Kamal, what I would say to everybody is sometimes we would question, okay, fine, you're doing all of this in a school. Sure, we do things like that. But what really sets this program apart, this Smart Schools program apart, is that it's all paired with education and outreach. So yes, you put recycling bins into a classroom and on the perimeter, but you also, our team works with every single class, teaching them about waste as a resource, what it means to their life, why they should be recycling. So it's not just because teacher told you to, and hopefully it's so that the children go home and they help their parents learn. So parents out there who are watching, if your child comes home, ask them about what they learned at school about, being safe, being green, being healthy, and try to incorporate it into your home.
And as you would have said, it's just not about, as you said, having the facilities in place, but also educating. And youth is the future of the territory. And we would have seen the Leonora Darville Primary School recently having some polywood garden beds installed in District 1 as well. And the students actively involved in the renovation of that particular area, transforming it from where it was before to what it is now. And it also teaches them not only about renewable energy and recycling, etc., but also agriculture and doing it in a sustainable manner.
And I mean, I would even give accolades to H. Levity Stout Community College on their part, where they're really teaching about coastal resilience, the effects of climate change, and the importance of mangroves and protecting. So there's a lot within conservation. But we need these practical skills to go along with that. How do we grow our own food? I mean, we have a lot of issues with obesity and diabetes in our country, alongside the fact that we're so dependent on importation. We're vulnerable, right? We're vulnerable to a ship deciding it's not going to come to bring us food. What do we do? At this point in time, the children get so animated, but a lot of this is also that we want to see children be the leaders even in their family, right? To start to affect change at home. So they learn to grow food at school, but then go home and help figure out, how can we put some pots even on the balcony of our apartment to just grow some chives and maybe some peppers, and start small, but then it builds sustainability into our entire territory, our nation.
And based off your interaction, because I know your team is very hands-on with each initiative and each project, what has the feedback been like from some of the students in terms of the interaction with the small children, as well as the teachers and principals of these respective schools?
Yeah, it's been magnificent. I mean, one of the things is that the partners on the Smart Schools project have been so active, like the work itself has taken so much time that none of us have really been able to talk enough about the fact that the action in the schools has been since last year, April, the work has been happening. So we're actually getting closer to the tail end of the project. So what people may have seen on 284 Media, the coverage of the Leonora Delville School Garden, that same thing is happening in all the schools. So for example, on Virgin Gorda, just last week, raised beds made of the recycled plastic wood that's made from the recyclables that come from on island. Raised beds went into Robinson O'Neill Memorial Primary School, Brigado Flack Secondary School. There's water tanks that have recently been installed at several gardens, Willard Wheatley Primary School, Francis Lettsome. Right now, we just replaced a lot of previous raised beds. They also have now an improved system of beds to make it that the larger number of students at Francis Lettsome can be accommodated. The garden doesn't exist in isolation. The children come out, and it isn't just to work in the garden, but they learn something that they might have learned in the classroom. So maybe that class is studying in their social studies work. They're learning about different economic systems. So they're going to end up having a mock farmers market at the end of the school day, where they're going to put a table by the gates and take the produce that they've harvested from the garden and sell it or trade it. And that's how the garden connects to all the national curriculum.
Okay, great. And in terms of now, we want to speak about some of the goals you guys would have had in 2023, and just a reflection on Green VI and some of the many initiatives you guys would have achieved, some you would have started that obviously would have rolled over to 2024 as well.
Yeah, I mean, having the privilege to serve as a leader in this organization, I am so deeply, deeply proud of the 32 people that we have on the Green VI team across Virgin Gorda and Tortola. We didn't really imagine we would ever find ourselves in a position to have a team of this size and to be able to do as much work in the space of harmonizing the relationship between humankind and the environment that we do. But as God decided it was going to go, we are trusted. We've been able to establish strong partnerships with many different sectors in government, as well as other sort of similar nonprofit organizations in the territory and elsewhere. With that, we run 4 main projects right now. I mean, all of our programs are guided by what we can get funding for, and it evolves. But in 2024, there's going to be a continuation of the We Recycle program, which is a collaboration between Department of Waste Management and Green VI. The success is phenomenal. We're certainly, nothing is perfect yet, but right now the program at the end of last year has managed to start fully diverting glass from going to burn or being buried on Tortola. Plastics are able to be diverted, and aluminum. With 2024, what we're able to then see be incorporated is machine oil and used vegetable oil, which you'll see more of. I think in the next 2 weeks, the government of the Virgin Islands is doing a reveal on that particular waste stream. But textile waste, which we'll see a little bit about later, as an opportunity to divert fabric and textiles from going to be burned and instead engage our senior citizens, BVI services, maybe other populations of our community that need job opportunities. You're seeing the We Recycle program create opportunities for other private businesses, whether it's in supporting the sorting and processing of recyclables or turning the recyclables into a locally made product. So the We Recycle program can support the territory in diverting 80% of what goes to be burned or buried right now, if everybody participates. So right now the system is there. Individuals just need to become a part of the change.
So several initiatives as you just outlined. I do know also too last year you would have had obviously the part of exporting a number of the plastics as well. Is that still on stream for 2024 as well? And what are some of the numbers regarding 2023 as well when it comes to the exportation of some of the plastics and aluminum cans as we can see here that is packaged outside the facility?
Yeah, I would go with huge. I mean, right now, just in this coming month, so in the month of February, there will be another just over 1 million plastic bottles are going to leave the territory. So we have another 3 40-foot containers worth of plastic bottles, which again, Kamal, help me please to help the public understand that that isn't a positive thing in the way we all want it to feel. It's not to say that everyone should keep using plastic bottles. It's actually tragic that so much time and effort has to go into managing them, right? Keeping them from going to be burned. It's expensive to export them. There isn't a place that they get sold to that generates revenue for anyone. In fact, it costs the country. So right now, Green VI has to fundraise and raise money to cover the cost of things that have to leave the territory. So it's not a practical system, but it is a celebration that we're able to keep that much plastic from going to be burned, because it directly impacts the health of people that live downwind of any of the dump sites in the Virgin Islands.
And especially too when we see what is going on in the world today with climate change and the impacts that are occurring. So as you said, the message is also, while there is the exportation of millions of bottles, if memory serves me right, this is probably more than 3 million bottles in total since.
We're up to probably 5 now over the course of the program.
Okay, about $5 million in bottles.
Million bottles, no dollars.
Sorry, 5 million bottles exported so far since the conception of the program.
Yeah.
What numbers would you like to see this number decrease to that would give you that positive insight of, okay, well, the territory is really heeding the message and as opposed to utilizing plastics or finding appropriate alternatives to reduce the materials, the plastic materials?
Yeah, so that's such a good question. And thank you again for reinforcing this message of the hierarchy, which is reduce, reuse, recycle. So in terms of waste reduction, right now in the recycling streams, we see almost 60% of what goes into the community recycling bins is just plastic water bottles alone. So that should disappear altogether, because we do not have to get our water, our drinking water, out of those bottles. So it's an unnecessary waste stream. You have similar plastics that maybe your cooking oil has to come into. So we need a way to manage those kind of bottles. You have different plastics that we cannot remove. So dream scenario, we would see that there be no plastic bottles anymore, because they're not necessary. And if we can go back to focusing on maybe investing in filters for our home cisterns, things that can attach to our tap. Even if we don't own the property we live in, we can add a filter so that we can use our water that comes from the tap. Or we can do what a lot of us used to do, which is refill bottles, larger bottles. It also means you're supporting a local business. If you go to BVI Springs, Great Mountain Water, Hannah, any of our local water providers, you're supporting a local business, whereas the bottled water that most of the grocery stores are selling you comes from elsewhere. It's expensive, it has a huge carbon footprint, and it's really negative for your health as an individual and the health of the territory. Yeah.
And in terms of now, we're here at the Paraquita Bay facility. I would have seen for myself some new additions to the facility following our last up close and personal interview. Speak about some of the additions here at the facility and what persons that pass by could expect, should they come to visit or should they come to even volunteer?
Yeah, and so we call it the Eco Park. And right now, Green VI, we have an Eco Park on Tortola and one in Virgin Gorda. In Tortola, it's on Paraquita Bay, and in Virgin Gorda in the valley. And we really encourage the public to come see, because what an Eco Park is a collection of demonstrations of different tools and systems for living a life of sustainability. And so what you see when you come to the Eco Park in Paraquita Bay, you'll see a water generator that takes the moisture from the air and turns it into drinking remineralized water. You're going to see the test scale We Recycle Center, all the things we talked about, the materials getting recycled. You're going to see a small business that's doing what's called upcycling, but they're taking a recyclable material and turning it into a product of a higher value. So they're taking plastics and turning it into wood or building material. You're going to see a full food garden, sort of reminding everybody how important it is and how easy it actually can be to grow your own food. If you visit us in Virgin Gorda, you're going to see a solar system, and you're going to see renewable energy in action. Not everybody's had a chance to see even what a solar panel looks like up close. You'll see electric vehicles. to help everyone, you can test drive an electric car, and then you can consider that maybe for your next vehicle, because they make a lot of sense on small islands where there isn't a huge distance that any of us has to go at one time. You're also going to see a mosquito lab in Virgin Gorda, and we have some of it here in Tortola, where we're doing a lot of data collection on the different kind of mosquitoes in the territory. Some of them are really harmful to our health. Others we just need to be aware of in terms of their populations. And then we facilitate our program called Bug Out, which is based on clean up, cover up, communicate as a way to end mosquito breeding. And what's the number one place that mosquitoes breed, Kamal? Here's your quiz for the day.
Well, I'm sure areas that has water, whether it be tires, or whether it be containers that aren't disposed of the appropriate way, etc.
So if the public has a prize, Kamal Haynes gets the prize, right? So litter or things that aren't managed properly is your main place where mosquito breeding happens. So, I would say to you even, what do you do at home? Are you recycling at home yet?
My honest response would be partially, even if it's 30%, because generally I try to minimize my usage of, as you said, plastic water that comes in plastic bottles. So that is my way of recycling, at least for right now.
Yeah. So again, you get another cookie if that's what the prize is, because you went with the top of the hierarchy, which is to reduce. So even when we think about mosquito breeding and we want to reduce our risk of dengue, chikungunya, Zika, because that affects our workforce, right? It makes people less likely to come here as a tourist, because they might be concerned about getting, sick. It really affects our health as a population. But if we can reduce the litter that is there by reducing the amount of waste we generate, then we're reducing our exposure and our risk to mosquito-borne illness. I always find how connected it is really quite a fantastic thing.
Because I was going to ask in terms of, Green VI often, push the message of recycling and renewable energy and going green, etc. What would have gotten you guys into mosquitoes and mosquito protection as it relates to, as you said, you guys have a lab that you're investigating the different types of mosquitoes. We do know the Aedes aegypti mosquito is the one that you should be aware of. That's the one that transports dengue fever, chikungunya, etc. So what would have gotten you guys into saying, let's have a board meeting, this is the next addition to Green VI?
Yeah. So it all comes back to human behavior and how it affects the environment. So right now, the Aedes aegypti mosquito is an invasive species. It's not even supposed to be here, okay? It came from West Africa centuries ago. But we perpetuate that species being here because they are an amazing species. They can lay dormant for 6 months. And then when rain comes, it reactivates the eggs. And so on Virgin Gorda since 2015, that program, which was inspired a lot by the chikungunya and Zika coming onto the scene, and how really scared a lot of people were. And anybody that was, for example, trying to have a child or was pregnant at the time when Zika showed up really feared for the health of their baby, and so even left the territory. So you had an exodus of people because of this. So that program started as a way to get the community involved in cleaning up, getting rid of litter, getting rid of standing water. And over a 5-year period of time, we managed to get to a 55% reduction in breeding sites just by doing inspections on properties, working with the Environmental Health Division, educating the public, regular community cleanups. But then we got to a point where you go, okay, this is how much can be achieved with a community-driven movement. And now what we've done is started working with a technical partner to introduce a tool called Wolbachia. And so that's a naturally occurring bacteria that helps to address just the Aedes aegypti mosquito, because there's other kinds. There's one called Culex. You're getting so good with all these things, Mr. Drop the Aedes aegypti, term in there. So a prize, whoever your science teacher was, got that one for you. Right now, what we're doing on Virgin Gorda is we're almost fully across the valley in terms of releasing what we refer to as the Wolbachia male mosquitoes. Male mosquitoes don't bite. And so when those mosquitoes go out into the wild, they compete with the wild males to mate with the females. But when a Wolbachia male mosquito mates with a wild female mosquito, their eggs won't hatch. And so slowly over a few reproductive cycles, you start to see what's called suppression. So you're going to see less and less Aedes mosquitoes. And so in the original areas we started in like the Handsome Bay area of the valley, we've seen an 83% reduction in the number of biting females since we've introduced the Wolbachia tool.
And how do you measure that particular percentage?
So we spent an entire year before starting releases putting traps out. So 74 traps, which is a lot, 74 traps across Virgin Gorda that are serviced like 3 times a week. So we go out and you collect a bag full of mosquitoes and you take them back to the lab and you count how many of them, you separate them into different species, then you separate the Aedes into different sexes, so you separate the males and the females. So at this point in time, we're getting to 1.1, close to 1.1 million mosquitoes have been counted on Virgin Gorda.
And what percentage of those were Aedes aegypti?
Yeah, it's the majority, which is really
concerning.
Yeah, so it's why this tool makes sense because it targets specifically Aedes. They like to be where people are. That's Aedes is, they like humans. That's who they want to be around. The males don't bite you, but the females do. There's another mosquito called the Culex mosquito that's not really interested in biting us, but they're the other dominant species of mosquito that you see, but they're really more a nuisance. Yeah, and so this tool isn't targeting them, but any effort anyone makes to keep standing water at bay, not an issue. You also won't have the nuisance ones, because
And in terms of, you mentioned that this particular program has already been launched on Virgin Gorda.
Yep.
I'm sure research is being done to see how it can be launched on Tortola as well.
Yeah, so that speaks to Green VI's role in the territory. So our role is to demonstrate and catalyze systems that are environmentally friendly and help to improve the relationship between human behavior and the environment. So our role is to facilitate and run the program that's happening on Virgin Gorda, so that then when those results are evaluated to see how strong is the success rate, then the government of the Virgin Islands can make further deliberation and decisions about whether to use that tool for the rest of the territory. So far, from everything that we've seen, the tool is very effective, but that should conclude near the end of this year to then have this data for further evaluation.
So if you was to compare the particular method that you guys are using to basically reduce the presence of Aedes aegypti mosquitoes in the territory versus fogging, what is the comparison and what are the contrasting differences between the two?
Yeah, so the main contrasting difference is the toxicity. When you fog, everything dies. Your butterflies, your bees, your pollinators of all kind, and we need them for food to grow. So that's really your number one piece. With fogging, you also have to treat everywhere. Most Caribbean populations, and here we have really high rates of asthma. It's a terrible thing for humans to come in contact with, that fogging. It's not a really resilient system. It's, the Environmental Health Division here does not like to do it as their lead in terms of how to manage, which we are, really applaud them for. It's just for crisis circumstances, like where there's a really big outbreak of Aedes mosquitoes and multiple cases of dengue have been seen in a certain neighborhood. But ultimately it comes down to the public being invested in keeping their own area, like around their house and their business place, clear of standing water. We often, and I'm complicit in it as well too. Sometimes I want someone else to fix my problem, right? And we all have to take responsibility. We need to make sure our own plastic, glass, and aluminum goes into a recycling bin. We bought it, we turned it into waste, we need to manage it. I left the tire outside my house, or I left the plant pot sitting up collecting water. I'm the one that needs to go and turn that plant pot over to not have mosquitoes, not be waiting on environmental health or bug out to come and deal with the problem. But the public can, I think, sometimes should take pause and maybe reflect on a space of gratitude for the fact that there are so many people in this territory putting their daily hours and energy towards solutions.
Well, in terms of Khadija, we just covered so much just now. So what are some of the other things that you guys are working on in 2024 that the public can look forward to, perhaps coming to a community near them as soon as possible?
Yeah, I think the big pieces are for 2024 for us as an organization, we really want to support the territory in moving forward with the legislation that's really necessary to make all of this work have lasting impact. So that's what's called a container deposit bill. So there needs to be a deposit so that when a bottle, for example, comes into the territory, there's a deposit collected on it. So then when you, as a good steward of that bottle, bring it back to a recycling center or a drop-off center, you get your deposit back. Anywhere you go in the world, as soon as a bottle has a value to it, it's not going to end up as litter on the side of the road. It's going to end up somewhere it needs to be. So as an organization, we're really excited to see how we can support that legislation moving in the direction to, being read and passed ideally, because a lot of the drafting has already been done. The other really big pieces people can be looking out for is just a continuation of the work that's already been started, but in a way that makes it even easier for people to get involved with. Maybe you're someone like yourself and you're maybe managing about 30% will give, of your waste at home that could be recycled. Make a commitment that you're going to do your part. So the We Recycle program will try to increase the number of bins that are throughout the communities to make it a little more convenient. But we need everyone to do their part. It's the same, I would say, with smart schools, which is wonderful. But that project will sort of conclude at the end of this school year. And so for it to continue, you need everyone to, their families and children, to continue what they're learning in the schools. We've done what's called we did a baseline survey. So back in March and April last year, we did the baseline survey of all the public school students. And they shared with us whether their families were recycling at home, how did they get their drinking water, did they know about what renewable energy was, did they know where dengue and Zika and chikungunya came from, how did they, do they grow any of their own food at home, and we'll do this same survey again in March and April of this year, and be able to come back to you, Kamal, and show what the impact of that Smart Schools project has been. And for that, we're really excited.
Well, so a lot to look forward for in 2024 as it relates to Green VI and your collaborators as well. We'll obviously have some other persons basically that will, speak on some of the other aspects here at Green VI as well. So stay tuned.
Angie, how can I get my claims paid quick? Rent's due next week.
CG processes 99% of claims within 5 days. Remember when I was hang-gliding with those goats? I caught a gust of wind and flew right into a moving car. Every appendage was in the cast, and they paid fast and fairly. That's what I get for trusting a man with a mustache and an eye patch. Now I gotta go. I'm meeting the guy who bedazzled my toes.
99% of claims are processed within 5 days. CG Insurance. Good like that.
At Hire BVI, we're not just about business. We're about empowering lives, and that is because we aspire to inspire. By choosing us, you're supporting a company that believes in equal opportunities, diversity, and community growth. Our mission goes beyond profit. It's about providing HR solutions, fostering talent, and leaving a positive impact. Join us in building a better future, a better BVI. Choose Hire BVI, where your support isn't just a transaction, it's a transformation. Together, we're changing lives in these beautiful Virgin Islands.
So I'm here with Mr. Ken Rico. We'll get his image on the camera a little later, but right now we're just focusing on the process. So firstly, introduce yourself and your relations with Green VI.
My name is Ken Rico Waitley, and I'm a project manager with Green VI. and we're in the VI Plastics work area here at the Eco Park, where they produce polywood, locally produced upcycled plastic into wood, and it happens right here at the Eco Park. And what you're looking at right now is they're positioning the molds that the plastic that he's pouring into that flower pot base thing is gonna melt. Well, it's not gonna melt, it's heated to a temperature that is soft enough to fit in the mold. And it squeezes into the form of the mold. Then after it dries, they kind of pound it out, and then that's where we get the polywood from, right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before it actually gets into the machine, we can see that the plastic is in some very small bits.
Yeah.
Could you just briefly speak on the process leading up to this point?
Well, we get plastic from the public, obviously those of you guys who contribute to the national recycling system, and of the plastic it's separated. The collectors, they collect it from every bin, it comes to this test site, this recycling center, and we have sorters that go through the plastic and they're separated into whichever number they belong to. VI Plastic uses number 2s and number 6s, and I can't remember the other number that they use in a small amount, but that's like your detergent bottles and also some styrofoam. And once it's sorted, placed in the bags, it goes in this machine, which is a granulator. It's basically a huge shredder, and it shreds the plastic into very small pieces, and they make their own mixture that they have. They get different colors, different sizes depending on the molds, and yeah, that's basically how the operation works.
Okay. So I think hopefully we'll see, I just said it goes into here, this is where the plastic goes into.
This crushes up the plastic.
Okay.
And it comes out in this feed right here. Okay. And when we get back outside, I can show you the big tray of basically shredded plastic that they then use to melt down and form into these molds. And once they cool, they pound them out, and that's where we have our polywood. And like deck furniture, resort furniture, bins, different products have been made with the polywood and sold locally.
Okay. And also too, as we're here at this particular juncture where the plastic is being put inside of the machine, how long does this process usually take?
There's different, but basically the whole round of molds they have to go through. But to fill one mold with plastic, it takes about 6 minutes. And for it to cool, depending on whether the mold is aluminum or the other metal material, it could range anything from 20 minutes to maybe about 40 minutes to cool.
Okay. And in terms of, obviously, as you spoke about 6 minutes, to pour into one of these areas. Where can we see some of these finished products being used? Because I know there was an initiative in 2023, 2022 of some school benches, etc. Where can we see, when it comes to mass productions of these particular polywood being utilized in the territory?
Well, I think one of the biggest examples of the polywood's use in the territory is the bins that you'd see throughout the territory. I know initially they were made with pallet wood, but they have mostly been changed out into polywood. So that's an example. You did mention that some school benches have been made. That is true. But what's most exciting is right now we're working on a project called the Smart Schools Project, and this is in collaboration with other government entities. And we're working on greening and making 11 schools resilient, which includes making garden beds, tool chests, pergolas, and other elements of the program. But the three that I mentioned involve the use of polywood. So we're sourcing all the polywood to build the chests, to build the pergolas, and that's all coming from here. So it's part of the whole. Even the garden beds actually are going to be made from this polywood. And the benefit of using polywood is it's plastic essentially, so it basically lives forever. If it was to get faded in color, you could basically just make it go through the process again and make more polywood. So it's definitely a good way to use the material that we already have here.
And a good, I'm not sure if this is part of the planning process as well too, but I'm sure for those locals who are listening in, I can see some of these polywoods building some good dog houses and stuff too. Definitely. Across the territory, because as you said, rightfully said, with plastic, it's not going to disintegrate like how wood generally would because of termite issues, etc.
I think termites like plastic.
Exactly. So all you may have to do from time to time is repaint to give it a freshen up type of vibe, basically.
Yeah, and it's really sturdy and really heavy. Right now they're gonna remove some of the polywood from the molds. So as you see, it's quite a manual process. He's using the mallet and this tool to kind of just push it out.
Because as you said, it takes about 6 minutes to pour into one particular pallet. How long does it take before it cools down?
At least 20 minutes. It could take as long as 40, just depending on whether it's an aluminum mold or an iron mold.
Okay. And in terms of, so once it cools down, as you can see, the gentleman here it pulls it out, and I can see each of them has a tip here.
That's from when it's poured in. So this is removed. This is removed ultimately.
Okay.
So something that's also I think important to know is that VI Plastics, they don't sell the wood. Rather, they make special order things with the wood. So you can't come to VI Plastics and ask for, 4 pieces of 2x4x8. But you can come here and you can order deck furniture, or you can order a chest or a bin, or I don't know. There's different things that they've made. Mostly outdoor stuff.
So in other words, you can come here and request a ready done furniture, basically, that is done out of reusable products.
Yeah, well, there's nothing made here to be sold. Rather, there's nothing made right now that is ready to be sold. Everything is special order. But there's a website, and there's at least 4 or 5 different options in terms of what you can order, but you can special order things. You just literally put in your request, you start having dialogue with Carrie, or who is the owner of VI Plastics, or one of the other designers, and then you start the journey of getting your product, made.
Okay. So as you can see here, this particular one is still being poured in. Just now you saw a little steam coming from this metal mechanism.
400 degrees, at least 400 degrees. 405, yeah, 405. Yeah, 405.
And you can see here, just pouring in right now. And just now I was lifting the one that was pulled out, that was finished, and it was still hot, still a bit hot there just now too. So as you said here, it's about 6 minutes roughly. This one now is already inside of the gray mechanism. Not sure what the initial name for that particular tool is called. What is it called?
The mold?
You
talking about
the molding tool?
Yeah.
Okay, the molding tool. Okay, and now has to wait about 20 to 40 minutes before it cools down. Yeah. Then it looks like what we just had in our hands, which would be similar to this particular product here. And as Mr. Wheatley said, you can't come here to get to request.
Like a furniture store, right? So you're not going to come here and see like pieces of furniture for sale. But if you're lucky, you would see examples of things that they're working on as we speak. Right now in the shop, we have some garbage bins that are being built for the Long Bay Beach and Beef Island and the smart schools. Those are the main projects that are being worked on right now.
And I know you mentioned about a particular website. You said people can go on a website to special order stuff, to request. What's the name of that website?
It's viplastics.com. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's their website. And there's also really cool t-shirts that you can buy that directly support the business. And something that's important to remember, that this is an example of social entrepreneurship, where you're basically trying to solve a social issue through entrepreneurship. And VI Plastics is an example of a business place using material that otherwise we would burn or bury, and making a product that we can all benefit from.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Wheatley, very much for your time and for that thorough explanation to the general public and to me myself as well, in terms of the process that this polywood goes through from beginning to crumbled plastic to the polywood product that then has to be customized, obviously depending upon what the finished product is set out to be. So really appreciate it. And thank you very much, Mr. Wheatley.
No problem.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Why? This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, I can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What you really? Hey, this ain't like you, know.
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out that trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit. I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know I hot. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
Rashford made it. Manchester United have come from behind to lead.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctbvi.com/live, select your package, and tune in.
Welcome back, viewers. We would have just had a very detailed explanation of VI Plastics initiative here at the Paraquita Bay Green VI's facility. We would have spoken to Mr. Enrico Wheatley, who would have given us a thorough walkthrough of the plastics from its inception in terms of putting it into the machine to its final product of being polywood. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with this very specific background where I'm here at right now, where we see the sorting of plastic and aluminum products here at the Green VI Eco Park facility. The lovely Mrs. Penny is going to just inform the public on some of the new additions, as well as was told that the private sector is now part of this initiative, which is something new from what we would have heard last time we were here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really exciting to see the We Recycle program evolve. And right now the evolution is that the team you'll see behind me is Virgin Islands Recycling Services that are now from the private sector responsible for the sorting and processing of the plastics and the aluminum. So they're in charge of separating the recycling that anyone from the public puts into the bins. They work alongside a few of our Green VI team members to operate the equipment that bales and compacts material if it has to be exported, or also shreds a lot of the plastics that go into the polywood that you'll see VI Plastics manages. They're also the team that works alongside students when they come out to do their community service hours. So they truly are heroes, and that example of how all of us within the territory have different roles and responsibilities, but it's inclusive. Yeah.
Great. And we have a gentleman here who's by the baler. Okay. Could you first introduce yourself first and foremost?
Hi, my name is Jonathan Springett.
Okay. I just tell the public here what you're about to do so that they have an idea as it relates to what goes into this particular process.
Well, basically this is just baling, crushing stuff. So we use it to like crush the plastic to ship it out, or we crush like the aluminum. That's basically it.
Okay, so I'll step back and watch him do his thing. So as you can see, he's basically pouring cans of aluminum. So these cans that you guys would put inside the recycling bins, and he's pouring these inside of this machine.
And aluminum, a great thing to know, Kamal, is aluminum is infinitely recyclable. So even though the process to recycle aluminum is not something we want to do in the territory because it's a bit toxic, smelting, when it leaves the territory, it can be recycled infinitely, which is different from plastic. Plastic only has a few times that it can actually be recycled properly before it has to go and degrade. So some of the distributors locally are bringing in water even in aluminum bottles. So if you're someone that really needs an individual bottle of water, look for some of the options that come in aluminum now. and even consider drinks that come in aluminum. Sometimes there's both a plastic and an aluminum option.
And as I can see here, it says 1 bale of aluminum equal 22,000 cans.
Yeah.
So which means 22,000 of these here has to be inserted into this baler to then be crushed and compacted into one block.
Yeah. And then if you can imagine, just in, it would have only been 3 months ago, we ended up sending out 2 40-foot containers filled with aluminum, which would have been close to 90 bales, each of which had 22,000 cans in them. So you can imagine the numbers on this.
Yeah. So, and as you can see, how much in terms of, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1 bag you just tossed in there. How many bags are roughly processed on a daily basis?
You get roughly 30 bags of aluminum cans go into 1 bale. In terms of a daily rhythm, it's actually ends up being quite affected by tourism season in terms of waste generation. So it ranges. We're making bales every single day. Sometimes it's going to be, most every day it's plastic water bottles, but the aluminum cans are regularly. We could pause. You could ask the same question to someone else.
Well,
you want a different personality.
No, but what I wanted to do, because while he's doing his thing, we'll get back to the finished product. But I know the glass crusher initiative would have started here as well.
Yeah.
Now we saw it being matured to the level now that is moved now to the incinerator at Parkwood Pond facility to deal with the territory's overall glass recycling.
Yeah.
I want you to speak about, there's another initiative that you had to mention about that we forgot to address initially. Speak about that particular initiative, and also to what it means or what it feels like, to obviously have initiative, as you said, started here, because Green VI pioneers a lot of the reusable or recycling initiatives. Initially, obviously, as you said, you have to show it can be done before the stakeholders buy in.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to have those particular initiatives accepted and actually institutionalized to the point where it's become a territory-wide something now?
Yeah, I love that tweet for media always cares about the emotion behind all of it, because it is it's actually almost hard to describe. It makes me quite emotional to think about how far everything has come, because right now physically in the territory there is the equipment that can deal with most plastics that are needing to be dealt with. There's the equipment in the territory to deal with aluminum, equipment in the territory to deal with glass, equipment in the territory to deal with yard waste for chipping, equipment in the territory that can start to deal with the bulky waste that's often a problem around our bins. So you spoke about what's called, it's an Andela glass crusher. Green VI secured the funding to buy a large-scale glass crusher. It's been installed on Crown land, or on land that is adjacent to the incinerator plant at Parkwood Pond. Because it means that any glass when it's coming can be diverted. So instead of going into the incinerator where it damages the machine, instead it can be crushed, and then that glass can be used for cover material to keep fires managed on the hillside, and for improving the road up onto the hill, so we don't have, like, often when it's really rainy, trucks can't get up onto the hill, and you have a big backlog then of waste behind the incinerator plant that makes it very vulnerable to fires.
And you mentioned about some of the other initiatives that you forgot to address initially.
The chipper. So the Department of Waste Management and the government of the Virgin Islands saw it as important to invest in a wood chipper. So all the landscaping waste that comes from you as an individual at home, you cleared maybe some area of land, or you're a landscaping company, or you're somebody that's clearing land, maybe a construction company, all that yard waste can actually come to Paraquita Bay. You need to just call and talk to Department of Waste Management, or you can call Green VI. We're easy to get a hold of. And then the chipper is here. That chips that twigs, leaves, shrub, bush into mulch that then right now can be used in the Smart Schools gardens to enhance the food gardens and the moisture retention in the soil, and then also be available to farmers.
Okay, excellent. So I just want to just turn back here, because I know my guy here is waiting on us. Yeah. Okay, no problem. So this is another bag here that is about to be tossed inside of the baler. So Mr. Springett is about to toss another bag inside. I reckon more than 100, probably 200 cans in there.
About 500.
500?
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
So the thing to share too is that, as I mentioned, this eco park is a space for a lot of young people where they come and do their community service hours. And we would encourage the public, if you're a business owner, also think of it as an opportunity for like a team bonding experience. Come out and have a day here. We can do a workshop where we teach your team how to make their own at-home cleaning products that are non-toxic. You can work in the garden, get involved sorting the recyclables so you understand the system better. Come with your kids. If your children need community service hours, do the hours with them. Show that adults are also supposed to be a part of the process. And come, learn how to use a baler.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Well, because at the end of the day, I just said it's a good initiative for those watching on, those that need the community hours for school or college to basically utilize here, because you not only learn a lot, but you enjoy it in terms of it looks like fun and doing it as well.
Yeah.
So Mr. Springett here has, I think, probably one more bag to put inside of the machine.
Orange alert! Orange alert!
Fire is spreading across the BVI. The fastest, most reliable, and affordable fiber internet service is here for you. Look out for fire in these new locations: Slaney, Duff Bottom, Manual Reef, Seacoast Bay, Albion, Hannah's, Palestina, Pleasant Valley, and Havers. Fiber is in your area. Call 444-4444 or visit a CCT store to find out more and bring it home. More locations coming soon.
At Higher BVI, we're not just about business. We're about empowering lives, and that is because we aspire to inspire. By choosing us, you're supporting a company that believes in equal opportunities, diversity, and community growth. Our mission goes beyond profit. It's about providing HR solutions, fostering talent, and leaving a positive impact. Join us in building a better future, a better BVI. Choose Higher BVI, where your support isn't just a transaction, it's a transformation. Together, we're changing lives in these beautiful Virgin Islands.
So we're here right now at the repair center, which is located inside of the Eco Park, at the center of the Eco Park, right next to the VI Plastics area as well. This is a new addition, Mrs. Penny. So speak about this particular workshop or repair center area and what is utilized for when it comes to the
We Recycle
program.
Yeah, so the repair center is a part of a waste management system because bulky waste, right? We all see when we drive by a green bin, we maybe see people have left old appliances or furniture, things like that. Oftentimes those things just need some small degree of repair, and then they actually would be able to be resold or given to somebody that might need that. So right now, last year there was a program called the Fixers that came, and we collaborated with them to do a big renovation on this place, and a grant was received to invest in tools so that now any furniture that ends up by a green dumpster or that perhaps someone has that needs to be refurbished or repaired, this is a space where that can happen. Now this is a 2024 project, so we're trying to figure out exactly what the system should be. How do the items come here? How do they get repaired? What happens to them when they're fixed? Who's doing the repairs? But to anyone in the public that sounds of interest to, again, reach out and let's talk and see who and how can get involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, and as you can see, we have some of the top of the line tools I could imagine that is here as well. So as you said, for those, we do know oftentimes in the past, there has been a big issue in terms of persons leaving construction waste or old materials, large bulky materials next to the same bins. But now you're saying, if you see it, make a call and see if arrangements can be made to get that waste here so it can be properly sorted and disposed of and recycled back to be reused in the community again.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this is, think of everything that right now would go to the incinerator as a resource instead of as garbage or waste, right? And so we have to separate it out, right? You have to divert it. When it's all mixed up and commingled, it's very difficult to make use of it. But if everyone can make an effort to separate it, take a minute to think about, is this something I could reuse or something someone else could reuse, or could it be repaired? There's a lot of appliance repair opportunities in private businesses throughout the territory. I mean, I would give a shout out to a business like Radio Doctor, who services everything that they sell and will repair anything they sell. So if you're considering buying an appliance, take that into consideration. Buy from somewhere or from in a scenario where if you need a repair done, it can happen. What we hope will happen is there's a really well-established business in Barbados that deals with electronic waste. We're hoping that's another thing that will come online in the year 2024, is to start to look at refurbishing old electronics so that they don't have to go to be burned or buried. And so stay tuned for that one.
Okay, excellent. Well, viewers, you would have heard from Mrs. Penny and her team here at Green VI. We would have touched on a number of different areas here at the facility, some that we would have seen in 2023 and 2022, and some new ones as well. So we do hope you enjoy the content. And before we go, how can persons get in touch with you in terms of persons who are interested in volunteering to be a part of this team?
Yeah, great note. You can either WhatsApp or call 346-4040. So 346-4040. You can follow us on any of our social feeds, which is just Green VI. Facebook and Instagram are really strong. And then you can visit the website. And if you go to our website, which is just greenvi.org, so greenvi.org, you get everything. You can contact us that way via email. All the contact information is there. Sign up to volunteer and get involved.
Okay, excellent. Well, viewers, you heard it. Mrs. Penny and her team, comprehensive preview and comprehensive walkthrough of the facility. And as we would have seen from VI Plastics, a new addition, persons can special order utilizing the polywood to basically not only contribute in terms of recycling, but also giving back to a local business who can then invest more in the territory. So viewers, on behalf of 284 Media, I am Kamal Haynes. I hope you enjoy the content. Until next time, bye-bye.